Okay, welcome to this Academic Skills Centre podcast. More and more courses are being run online, particularly with the COVID, and this mode of delivery can be a bit different and new for some people. My name's Neil, I'm from the Academic Skills Centre, and today we have four veterans of online learning. We have Andre in Korea.
Hi.
We have Donna.
Hey.
We've got Mark.
Hello, good to be here.
And we've got Kira.
Hey.
So, guys, you were doing some of you. In fact, Donna, you've done a lot of online courses, haven't you? How many have you done all up at Bond?
10. I've done 10 subjects all online.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, how have you found the experience? Perhaps you start with you, if you've done the most.
It's been overwhelming. Just like Kira, overwhelmingly good. Let me say. Just like Kira, I did online study with another university, and I found that there was just a lot of readings and then an exam at the end, or a lot of readings and then something to hand in. But this, week to week, face-to-face contact, it's just been very liberating. You get to ask the questions in real time. You get to do the learning in real time. I absolutely love it. And initially, I started off with just a grad cert, so 4 subjects, and loved it so much that I continued on to do the Masters.
Wow. And Kira, I think you said that you'd done an online course before with another university?
I think that's right, yeah. But that was, again, like Donna said, it was just a lot of reading, and then at the end it was the final assessment. They did recorded lectures from the actual on-campus lectures that we listened to, and there was no class that we do here on Collaborate. So doing it through Bond has been amazing because you actually do go to class. Even though everyone is in other places, you are actually in a class.
Yeah. So did you notice you kind of interacted with other people as well quite a bit?
Yes, so much more because, you're actually a part of the same thing with people that you're meeting, whereas in my previous experience, it was just me listening to recorded lectures and
And Andrew, I think you've done a couple of courses online, haven't you?
Actually, my studies at Bond has been my first time having actual online studies. I did a refresher course for my TESOL certificate, I think a year ago or something. But I don't think that can really be considered as online studying because all I did was watch some videos and then answer a test afterwards. So and there was no interaction, nothing.
Yeah. And how have you found the experience at Bond using Collaborate?
At first, I was thinking, how is this going to work? I'm on the other side. I'm on a completely different continent. And I must say, after I got used to it, it was like, wow, this is fun. I actually get to see other people and talk to other people who are in the same field as me. And I actually get to ask questions and learn from others' experience as well.
And Mark, I think this is your first course that you said.
It is, yeah. I was pretty fresh to all of this, actually. Started at Bond in this January semester and first time online also. So I didn't really have any expectations when it came to this, but I'd say generally I found the whole thing surprisingly fluid and quite easy to get used to. And as the other guys mentioned, it did from day one felt like attending a class rather than any kind of a pre-recorded thing without personality and interaction. So definitely a positive first semester for me online.
And so apart from the kind of the social aspect of being able to talk about it, was there anything else that you liked about the online environment?
For me, I thought it was quite interesting, again, coming into this for the first time, to see from the different classes I had, the different approaches that each of the lecturers actually took to presenting material. You had some who would, I guess, present it in a more traditional way, which worked very well. And then you had others that maybe took a more interactive, experimental approach. And I think from either way, it was definitely an effective way to learn as a first-time online student.
Mm. Is there anything else that anybody else liked about it? Yeah, Donna.
I really like the fact that I could do it from home, and I'm there. My kids are there. You know, there's still it still feels like they're seeing me learning. So it feels like I'm at home. I'm still supervising, but I'm actually learning. Like I'm, doing something for myself at the same time. So, and the lecturers have been so awesome. Every single one of them have been awesome about getting to know the family and who's there in the background.
Did you find that you kind of felt more contact with the lecturer and the other people in the class because you can see their home environment? You know, my dog just walked in a minute ago, that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. The lecturers all made a point of, asking about the background, asking about the family that walked by. And my kids then knew the lecturers, so they knew that I had a lecture with Beata or a lecture with Masanori. They knew who was going to be on and what the expectations were. And that for me was really, really important.
How did you find with the distractions? If you've got, as you say, you've got your kids walking around and family and things like that, noise. How did everyone manage with any kind of distractions that were around?
Yeah, I've got a learning space, and so the kids can see me. So on my on my left hand side, there's like a bar area, so I can just look over and I can see the kids. But behind me, I had curtains closed. So once the curtains were closed, the kids knew that it was complete silent time. But if they needed me, like I remember one time I was in a lecture and my son had an asthma attack, and I was able to just stop and and tend to him. Whereas if I wasn't home and I was actually on campus, I wouldn't be able to be with my children. So that's really important for me.
Did anyone else have any ways of managing distractions, or were you okay for distractions at home?
I think a big thing is letting the people that you live with know that you're doing a class. Otherwise, if they don't know, then they're going to make noises and come in and talk to you and, do all that kind of stuff. So I think the big thing is just letting them know that you've got a class for the next hour or hour and a half. And that it'll happen at the same time every week.
Yeah.
I guess maybe the other thing is treating it as a class, that is turning your phone off, putting the video on if it's available to you, because it makes a huge difference being able to actually see and interact with these people rather than just being a voice sort of in nowhere. I think that really helped me to stay focused.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask about that. Different ways of staying focused in the session, because in a lecture you can lose distraction, you can get distracted and get lost on it sometimes. But in an online environment, there's it's possibly even more difficult. Were there anything else that helped to keep you on track and on focused on the lecture?
For me, it was.
Oh, sorry. Go on, Andrew.
That's fine. For me, it was actually making notes during the lecture, and then actually the writing on Collaborate, where you can actually write notes or answer questions on the screen, and you can actually see what everybody else was doing. So it was kind of like staying focused to make sure you don't give the same answer as the other person. So you have to actually listen to what other people are saying. And then, like Mark said, using the camera makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Because then they can also see you. So you kind of have to stay focused. You can't just disappear, because then the other people are going to know that you've disappeared.
That's it. They can see exactly what you're doing.
Yes.
Well, were you going to say something similar, Donna? What were you going to say?
No, I was going. I can't remember now. Headphones, and
yes,
made a big difference. So when I was using just the computer, the audio from the computer, there was always a lot of background noise and all of that. But once I had the headphones on, I was completely focused. So I felt that made a big difference. Yeah. Just adding on to what Andrew said, it was so good. Like, you do the learning beforehand, or you're reading, or the lecture, whatever it is. But once you go in there and everybody gives their perspective, then my two favorite tools were screen, what's it called when you take a photo of the screen? Screenshot. I did a screenshot, so all of our, the writing that we did and that whole collaboration, and I take a screenshot of that and had that, but also the snipping tool. So I'd snip the tool, copy, paste it onto a Word document, and I was able to write my own notes. So I was constantly, listening and updating my notes. I would highly, highly, highly recommend, especially for some of the harder subjects and subjects where you're learning words that you've never heard before, to have a glossary. So I had like a glossary that any word that came up that I didn't know, I'd put it on there and ask for meanings if it was just assumed that we knew. Putting your hand up and asking questions constantly, so keeps you focused and keeps you in the game almost. It's easy to get distracted if you're not participating. So you have to make a conscious effort of participating.
And I think like the more questions they're asked, or can I just check this is right, and you saying it in another way, it helps you to understand, but it checks your own understanding of what it is that you've got it right.
Neil, just going off what you said there, that's actually something that I guess maybe one of the challenges that I did face, and maybe some of the other guys did initially, was that idea of asking questions, the online format. I guess initially I kind of felt like I was maybe interrupting someone else, or I was jumping in or cutting in front of someone. And I guess you just really get used to the fact that you're all in it together, and there are definitely no stupid questions, and feel free to jump in whenever.
Well, running off that, there's also the chat, which is really good. So if you've got a question and it's not important to answer right now, at least it's up there and someone can answer it throughout the class. Or there's even, the hands up button as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point, isn't it? And then because you're not actually interrupting, but you're at a good point to come. You've got that question, and I guess it helps you to actually kind of formulate that question. It gives you a little bit longer, and if you're speaking, you kind of would actually want to know. But if you're writing, it gives you a little bit more time to formulate exactly what you're trying to ask. Yes, that's a really good point.
I also like the chat because you could actually go back and see, oh, this is what the person asked. So sometimes there might be a break in the internet connection and you miss what the person says. And then you can just go back in chat and see, oh, okay, this is what the person wrote and what they asked.
That's a good point, because very often in a physical class, you might not actually hear the question. You hear the answer, but you don't actually hear, especially with a few people in the class, you might not miss the question that they actually asked or didn't understand it. But if you've got it written down, it's like subtitles on the movie, isn't it? You can follow it a little easier. Now, Andrea mentioned of internet dropping out. Were there any kind of technical challenges that anyone found?
We actually had quite a funny internet challenge that happened. We were supposed to be presenting our seminars for the one assignment, and what happened is our lecturer couldn't log in, so she had to end up calling in, but then she couldn't change anything within the settings. So there are times when that happens. So luckily what happened there is one of the students had been made moderator. So he was able to carry on and change the slides for us. And we actually managed to do it that way. But our lecturer's her hands were kind of tied at that point because she couldn't access it at all. And sometimes what happens is one day your internet will be perfect and everything will run 100%. And then the next moment, for some reason, your internet will just drop. And I think the easiest in that case is if you can't get back in or you see you don't get in, email the lecturer and say, listen here, I can't get in, what to do? And sometimes the lecturer might message you back and say, oh, don't worry, I can't get in either.
I think using that the phone dial-in is quite good, though, isn't it? I know we had a couple of students who had problems getting in, and they could dial in using their phone and using that as a second backup, I guess, which worked really well.
And even if there were technical difficulties, which inevitably there were in some of my classes, there was sort of a sense of, I don't even know, like camaraderie around it. Like we all knew that maybe so-and-so's connection was a bit dodgy. So, okay, come on, do your presentation now while you've got a full signal. It was kind of nice like that.
Yes.
Yeah. And any tips? Do you have any sort of golden tips to share for new students who are starting on Collaborate?
I was going to add that with the technology, expect the unexpected regarding technology. Like you just don't know week to week what's going to happen. But if you know that anything can happen, then you kind of, that mindset is there and it sort of flows better. But also when you're on, switch off your microphone unless you're asking a question, because it disrupts the learning for everybody else with the background noise. There's inevitably some background noise coming on from every person on there, and you can't hear it, but everybody else can, and it disrupts like even the lecturer speaking. So yeah, I'd say switching off your microphone is the big one.
And also switching off your video feed as well. If you have a problem with the internet, sometimes just switching off the video makes it all better.
I learned also earlier on that when that first lecture, when everybody's on, learn everybody's names, because inevitably and you can email each other and all of that, because inevitably things that you're experiencing, other people are feeling the same way or experiencing the same thing. So whether, like, sometimes it may be a lecture that went too fast and you think, was that me? Like, did I not get anything out of that one? But when you email and you're chatting with others, you realize, oh, no, it wasn't just me. It was just the nature of that particular lecture. So you're able to then, speak to the lecturers or whatever. But yeah, do get in contact with whoever else is in the class as well, because that's another way that you can learn, another way that you can tap on what's been happening.
And I think that's important as well to create that sort of social feeling of comfort with other students in the class. If you know the other people in the class, you feel more comfortable, more likely to ask questions, and less isolated as well. So yeah, I think that sort of making contact with the other people in your class, if you're not actually physically there, you're right. It's really, really important.
From my side, I would also say, because it's difficult sitting for 2 hours with earphones in your ears. So pay the extra money and rather get a good set of earphones that you are comfortable with, because otherwise you are going to end up halfway through the lesson taking them out. And it's almost like the moment you take them out, some of your concentration goes away, because then immediately you hear all of the sounds around you. So invest in a good set of headphones, especially if you're planning on doing more than one subject a week, because otherwise by the end of the week, your ears are going to be so sore. You're never going to want to see headphones again.
That is a good point. I spend a bit more for mine, and they're the best things I bought this year. They've been brilliant. Fantastic. Well, thank you all so very, very much. That's fantastic. That's very, very useful information, I think, for everybody. And I really appreciate you coming along and giving your words of wisdom.
No worries at all.
Thank you very much indeed.